agenda, and we'll start with
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Here today to give an update and kind of an overview of the event center at Renaissance Point project. This is over in the city of Middletown as part of a broader development that the city is working on. So I'll give a little bit, I'll be brief, but a little bit of a historical context and then kind of where we're at today. So you can see on the screen here a couple of the project partners that are heavily involved. You've got the city of Middletown, Warren County Port Authority, Miller Valentine Construction is our construction entity that's helping us, and then Woodard Development. They do a lot of work up in the Dayton market, but also obviously creeping a little further south. They do a lot of mixed-use type developments. So again, just overview of the description, a little bit of a background, go from there. So to orient us here, this is the location of the site. So you can see there right in the middle of the screen is Atrium Medical Center. Obviously this is the exit 32 there on Interstate 75, State Route 122. The site shaded in red, which is at the southeast corner of Union and State Route 122. In grand total, it's about 50 acres. So, and I'll get into kind of, you'll see a site plan later of what that will all entail, but it's about a 50-acre site located right there in the city. The historical context I just wanted to provide, just a kind of a refresher. It's hard to see, but on the bottom of this slide you can see the date of this is actually back from 2021. But this plan that you see on screen is actually a concept plan that was created for the town mall site in Middletown, and this was done with a process that the city had undergone, kind of a visioning process of what they could do with the town mall. They brought in this firm called Rinka to come in and do some visioning and some charrette planning, and as part of that, one of the thoughts that came out was, should we do some sort of event center? Should we do something centered around indoor winter type sports, hockey sports, because that's really an asset that we don't have a lot of here in the county, or we don't, there's kind of a lack of that in the region writ large. So you can see it labeled on the plans there that came out. They had some other mixed use uses that they wanted to put on site. Ultimately, they couldn't come to terms, an agreeable purchase term with the owner of the mall at that time.
Was that in Warren County?
It is in Warren County.
Yeah, because that's what I remember this all being related to the redevelopment of the Middletown Mall.
Yeah, so that is how it started, and it was in that vein. So one of the things that, as they got through the process and started to finalize in on uses, one of the things that they really wanted to do, the city wanted to do, is go out and fund a feasibility study. The county, that was one of the things that the county had originally participated in providing funding for, was let's go out and make sure that these uses are feasible that we're looking at. And that study was conducted. It was done by a firm called Hunden. They're out of Chicago. They came back and gave really positive indicators on all of the uses that are on site. So, retail, the food and beverage uses. I think there was a hotel. Yeah, there was a hotel contemplated. The hockey reuse was greenlit as something that would be well suited for this region. And so they gave us really good indicators. But like I said, unfortunately, we couldn't come to terms with the owner at that time on a price. So the site that we're currently looking at right now, that 50 acres across the highway, at the time, the city of Middletown already owned 25 of those acres, already had it in ownership. They worked together with Woodard to go out and acquire the additional 25 and consolidate that full site down for 50 acres. And basically said, we're going to uproot this development and put it on the other side of the highway because of the indicators that came back so strongly on feasibility.
And when you say we, and you point to the Warren County Port Authority being a partner, explain what that means to me, as opposed to, I knew that potentially the port, due to really advantageous rules around sales tax, a lot of times can issue bonds and act as a financial conduit to get these deals done. Now you're saying there's 4 partners, including the Warren County Port Authority, and you keep using the word we. So what is the role of the port in this?
So I'm going to put this up here because it might just help me explain it a little bit more clearly in my own mind. Is this is the most current site plan that is in use. Throughout the course of making this transition to the other side of the highway, you're right, the port has the ability to go and do all those things to try to help get a private enterprise funded. Knowing that the event center is going to be really kind of the anchor tenant among other tenants on site, I think, and again, I don't really recall how the transition was made, but it went from, we had looked at having kind of a newly formed nonprofit entity to kind of own and operate the facility. But then we also looked at kind of models that we have with the Warren County Sports Park, the outdoor sports complex, where the port does own that land, and then we have kind of an operations agreement with the CVB that allows us to go after property tax exemption through the state and things like that, because we can make it more, available for other uses throughout the course of the year and make it a publicly available asset that can be utilized. And so that is the model I guess we're looking at now, is having the Port Authority own the facility, and then we would have a long-term or like an operations agreement.
Man, this is just so contrary to everything that was pitched back when we said move ahead with this. This was private enterprise was doing this, and we're going to help. We're going to be a conduit. There's private funding that comes into play, but this is a private enterprise. Now you're saying it's a quasi-governmental entity is actually going to own it. When was that decision made?
I don't recall exactly how we got to that level. I just don't recall what I know as we were going through and looking at just how we were, to the point about trying to have the right incentives in place to make it feasible, make everything pencil out. We just looked at kind of a similar model that we've already got in the county and one.
This is a similar model to what, the event center we have over at the fairgrounds? And is it the port that would be the owner of, and just the event center, or is it this whole thing?
It would be just the event center portion, so the remaining uses that you see there in different colors, the yellow, the orange, that's all to be privately developed through Woodard as the private developer that's gonna put in the rest of the improvements on site.
I would just add, I think in the conversations, we just followed the model that we did for the sports complex, which is the Port Authority has fee ownership of the 120 some acres at the sports complex, and we have that agreement with the CVB to operate it. This would be the same in that if we follow the same model, is the Port Authority would own it, which would allow for.
Well, who owns the ground right now? Who owns this property?
The city of Middletown currently.
Okay, City of Middletown owns the property. Why isn't the City of Middletown doing this?
I think it was just, again, because of the fact that there's historical precedent with.
No, why are they coming to us to do this? Are they expecting us to give them something?
No, what supports, and I assume Matt was gonna get into this, but what supports the actual event center is the private uses that will be had in there, and I think he'll probably show some things that later on, or at least discuss it, is things such as concerts, so when it says the Port Authority has ownership like we do with the sports complex, the Port Authority doesn't do anything on a daily basis out at the Warren County Sports Complex. It is operated by the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and so that would be sort of the same model here. The Port Authority has it in ownership for what I would say from a paper purpose, but the rest of it is to sit there and be where the private sector comes in to sit there and either use it for concerts, use it for graduations, use it for youth sports, use it for a whole host of different items, and that's where the revenue is generated from, is those private end users. So that's, I think, where it went to, is just a model that we had done before.
But the model before is when the Port Authority owns something. The Port Authority, and I think I have credibility saying this since I created it with Pat South, the purpose of the Port Authority was to be basically the action arm of the commissioners. That for economic development projects, the commissioners seemed worthy of really a public purpose of owning, getting behind this, much like the sports complex or the tennis complex. the commissioners were unified in saying this is public purpose, let's go down this path of doing this. It was commissioner driven. Does the Port Authority have a separate board that can do certain things like this? Yeah, I think we appoint most of them, but I'm somewhat surprised we went from the financing arm of the project to where now it's, oh, there's a private enterprise that's doing all this stuff around it, we're gonna use, I would assume, Port Authority bonds to finance the whole thing.
Yes, yes.
So they get the good stuff over there, and then
No,
the
no, no.
event center,
No, there'll be no Port Authority issued bonds for anything beyond the event center. Everything else is done. The city of Middletown is working with the developer to structure however they want to structure those items.
Yeah, sorry, that's what.
So
that's
this
what-
this is in the city of Middletown, right?
Yes.
Correct.
And the city of Middletown owns the property. And our Port Authority, does it have jurisdiction to engage in any matter in Warren County? I mean, typically, we don't have jurisdiction in a municipality, but the Port Authority does?
Yeah, I mean, the Port Authority can operate anywhere within the county's borders.
Okay, so Bruce, we county commissioners don't have anything to do with the city of Middletown or to operate in Middletown, do we?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, neither am I. So,
but it's just like our
That's no
Port owns the
different than,
tennis.
than
I
the
hear
Port
you,
Authority
I hear
owning
That's in the city of
tennis.
Mason, we own that, yeah, that's.
Okay.
And the idea is that they're.
we don't own anything there. We do have an interest, I know.
The Port Authority
We got
owns the
lease.
tennis
We got lease.
facility.
No, we own the entire complex.
Oh, no.
Yes.
It's the city of Mason.
The
No,
Port, the
we
Port, the Port Authority owns the entire complex of tennis, the tennis facility, and it is leased, I probably have the terminology wrong, but it is leased to BMOC to operate it for the time that they are there.
I
They do,
thought Mason was the one that owned it and they. leased
Mason bought it from
to us.
Tennis for Charities and transferred it to the Warren County Port Authority.
Yes.
Okay, so, okay, but that's not the commissioners. But the Port Authority now, but why, so my question goes back to this. Why would the city of Middletown, that owns the property, and this is in their jurisdiction, why do they want the port to be involved in
I
it?
think they want us to be involved with it because we have a history of doing items like the Warren County Sports Complex, and originally, when
Is
they.
it because they can get a better bond rate? Is it because they can get something?
No, honestly, if they wanted to bond it themselves, they might be able to get their own rate. I don't know if they want to sit there and do that from a
So
GO
that's
perspective.
my only question is,
But-
what's the advantage of them including our port?
They're interested in the development in all of the other areas that surround this facility to get a higher level of economic development. And so while our interest would be in the sales tax collection here, they obviously have interest in income tax, collection. And so, as well as other amenities that they're interested in for their residents. So I think that their interest is, in developing out the full piece. They don't wanna be in the arena business.
So they want us to be in the arena business
Well,
instead.
I think
For
the
them, it's a
port,
political judgment?
no, I think the port is basically a financing mechanism, just like it was for the sports complex and just like it was for tennis. It's a way to finance this attraction, where then the subsequent economic development around it is in the public good. And so it really is operating no different than either of those two things in terms of ownership and financing. It's just, in this case, we're not putting any money into this, at least we've not been asked to put any money into this. Merely the port is using their unique financing tools to be able to get this thing done and financed by the end users over time.
Which sounds great, but my understanding was we did put money into this.
For the study,
Yeah, through ARPA funding and upfront to help with studies
Okay,
and the
so we
architectural.
did put some public money into this initially, and the financing is one thing, but my understanding is now that it's not the city of Middletown that's asking the legislature or the state government, it's Warren County is now asking for an allocation of state money for this.
We've not asked for any allocation of money, like in terms of like through a budget request or anything like that. I mean, we have, the Port Authority has sought out programming. We did try to go after a TMUD application, which is a transformational mixed-use district grant that Department of Development houses. We were turned down for that because it's not eligible through a public entity for a Port Authority to go after something like that. We've talked with Department of Development about their 629 project, which is a roadway funding mechanism. So we have sought out existing grant program or, grant or development type programs that are already approved and under ODOD's.
I mean, people in Columbus are telling me we are asking for $15 million or something.
Well,
that was, the TMUD application was for the 12, that was 12, but maybe it was 15. The TMUD application had, based off of parameters of the entire project, had a maximum you could go for. And so we just went for the maximum that we could do. So we were trying to find, once that was a negative, we looked to other existing programs to see if there were ways to tackle that. So we're using existing programs like we would do for other economic development projects to see if there's an opportunity, but there has not been a capital project asked I'll just call it of new money.
Yeah, the 15 million figure was arrived at because it's, to that point, it's the formula is you could ask for, you're allowed to ask for up to 10% of the overall development's stack. And so between what's anticipated with the event center plus the surrounding private development, at the time, the estimate was 150 million, I think it was, is kind of where that number derived from.
All right, so what's the status of this thing?
Well, so the status of it right now, so additionally, as was mentioned, the city of Middletown has created a new community authority that would be over the entirety of the site, all 50 acres. That will have additional charges that would go on for a property millage tax for some of the residential components, an additional sales tax to be levied by the community authority on sales that happen on site. Coupling those revenues with the operating revenues of the facility is the basis for having the port go out to issue debt for the event center. Right now, where we're at is trying to go through that underwriting process. There's a study that is being completed to ensure that the business pro forma that we anticipate the performance of the facility, how we anticipate the facility to perform, is legitimate, and there's a firm that's helping to verify all that independently for the underwriter. That report, actually, I think I just got a draft of that late last week, so I gotta kind of digest that. I don't fully know what it all says yet, but we gotta get through that and kind of see how that bears out to determine if it's financially feasible, essentially, is kind of where we're at.
So why is the event center so incumbent? Is the rest of the project happening? Is the rest of the project gonna happen with or without this?
So it is currently in what the city's kind of calling phase one. I think to answer the question is this development would probably still happen one way, no matter what. The quality and the caliber of tenants that would go there would be drastically different if the event center does not come forward. I think if you drive by the site right now, you will see it's cleared. They've got roadways in.
There's a mic there if you want to walk over.
Basically, the entire section here is cleared, roads are in, et cetera. This quadrant has been left sort of untouched as the feasibility of it is fully vetted and trying to understand if it will work. So these types of improvements are going to be starting here probably in the fall and into early next year. What happens at this quadrant obviously remains to be seen, and like I said, especially kind of up here, some of these retail F&B components. What we're hearing from Woodard is there's very strong interest from tenants in the market, and they're just, they wanna see whether the event center pops. It probably is the difference between getting more of a regional destination type of tenant, or, you know, just kind of the typical, yeah, fast food, fast casual chains and things like that.
So if that's moving forward without this $15 million worth of public grant money, certainly not capital dollars, because you haven't asked for any capital dollars, right? Could you, I mean, apparently, you know, the port makes its own decisions. Can the port just go and ask for capital dollars? Who asks for capital dollars on behalf of Warren County?
Well, I think that would be a question for you all. I mean,
Well, I thought I knew the answers to some of these things, and apparently I don't, but.
well, I mean, based off, I don't wanna do anything to get out of step. I mean, we can do that if that's something that you all wanna do. I don't wanna go take that step and if it's not something that,
So the Warren County Port can ask directly for capital dollars?
Well, the way
I would think
the
so,
way that
but I don't.
the way that the Port Authority has done it in several year cycles is that we have, and I think a couple of the commissioners have said on it, is we have a capital budget, I don't know what the even word is, but a capital budget commission where there's roughly 15 or so community leaders, diverse geographically in industry, that we put out kind of an advertisement for folks to apply for capital budget dollars. And I think actually that's coming around here shortly soon, if I'm not mistaken. And folks will sit there and present their applications, and then they'll actually present to the board. And then that committee will rack and stack those priorities, and then that will be head.
So what you're saying, for the entire community of Warren County, this separate board, the Warren County Port Authority, will hear from everyone else?
No, it's not the Port Authority.
Isn't that what you literally
No,
just said?
so
panel it,
back when I was in the General Assembly and others, that it has become sort of, you know, as we were trying to assess lots and lots of capital projects, legislators and leadership asked communities to put together a process to rank projects and evaluate projects in a way that state legislators can't always do, to get a sense of where the community was around these projects. They are not, legislators are not bound by this process. There is no,
I'm 100% familiar with that. As a matter of fact, I think I've sat on a few of those, that they used to happen up in our economic
They still
development
do.
things. So that was my point, who is gathering the information from community leaders, different elected leaders, of what, out of the priority of here's 50 things, here's what Warren County is asking for relative to our top 3 picks, because I remember that clearly, that that's what the legislators want, and that made a lot of sense. Who's doing the ask?
So, well, based off of the feedback that we get from that panel, the Port Authority puts forward that ask on behalf of that panel. The port has just been that entity that's taken sent the official letters up to the delegation.
but the port's not providing the list. It's the volunteer committee made up of different community leadership from throughout the community that is creating the list. The port's just been the conduit to support, to send an actual list.
Could the commissioner send the list?
Sure,
Yeah.
but
And I'm
that,
not sure why, because again, I'm not sure who's on this committee, and so.
well, I've been on the committee for the last, since I've been here, every year.
Yeah, I mean, I know you were on it 1 year.
I'm happy to
ago, so it's been
relinquish my
for a while.
seat in there to.
Well, I just think that it should be more of, if it's on behalf of the county, at least, do you give us, I don't remember being informed of, these are the capital budgets asked for this cycle.
We've not done that historically, but we certainly could if you'd like. I mean,
I just, again, obviously, my radar is up right now, that a lot of stuff is being talked about on behalf of Warren County. I didn't even know this thing had moved. I don't know anything about this.
What?
That it went from the town mall over to these 50 acres. But, that I know
Well,
of. Maybe I forgot, but,
I've known that. I mean, I have been, active in this project out of just interest in this project and have been engaged in understanding where it's been going, and that the biggest piece of it, of course, is the arena, that is it's kind of the central piece of it to determine what develops around it. I mean, Middletown, to its credit, has been very active in securing the site and creating the authority and putting some transportation infrastructure dollars into this to prepare the site. They're eager to do it. They've been very, very active in a way that I hadn't seen the city of Middletown being in my short tenure here.
Just to give you like an idea when you talk about, like for some of the infrastructure, the city of Middletown has issued on their own some bond anticipatory notes bans. And the private developer has done a TIF guarantee in order of supporting that. So that's how they're sort of funding, not sort of how, and there should be some spillover of that TIF, which then also would get pushed to the arena. So it's really just taking the TIF dollars, it's taking the dollars that come from the NCA, it's coming from the dollars that are the private use, that the port would interject itself to issue the debt, and then be supplied by the private use of this entire campus to support the event center. So
there is a new community authority also?
the city created a new community authority. And so the answer is yes, that the city has created a new community authority.
All right, so look, you're just informing us of what's going on today. There is no decision point for us to make about this.
Not today.
So the pro forma, that's, you've seen, a draft. I appreciate that you haven't had a chance to digest it. I mean, at the end of the day, the numbers are either gonna be in support of this or not. And the proof will be in the pudding. So I suspect that's kind of the next piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that's right. And preliminarily, what I know that it's been just the conversation that's been happening with Barclays Bank, who's the underwriter that we've been talking to, the port's been talking to, is based off the pro forma. I think Barclays feels very confident that the facility and the NCA charges and everything can perform, could get to a point where it could satisfy the debt that would be due on the bonds. The bigger question is going to be whether or not it can perform to a coverage ratio that's going to be needed,
Right.
that the market's going to want. And so that's probably the proof in the pudding, the question that needs to be answered, which hopefully.
I mean, I think Commissioner Young, to your point, is the ARPA dollars did come in. The money that helped us get to some of these places is the money that's harming us because the interest rates and coverage ratios are so high. So it's one of those items where we just have to figure out where Barclays lands on that, and if we can see a rate cut here, maybe that'll be helpful.
Okay, does everyone?
Yeah, well, I mean, but again, I want to be perfectly clear on this, that the word "we" and the definition of "we" is important to me. And you brought up two other comparable, completely appropriate usage, the sports complex and the tennis facility. However, what's completely different in this situation is the Board of Commissioners on both of those projects had the opportunity to inform staff, yes, do this, don't do this, to what degree, state capital dollars, all of that. Here's $15 million worth of public money potentially. Yeah, it's an allocation of a grant. I understand that. But as of right now, it sounds, one commissioner said, I've been in the meetings. I mean, I know nothing about this, but yet it's in the context of our staff and our Port Authority feels it's okay to go all the way down here to, now we're talking about, a large project with a lot of public dollars involved, which, I mean, at least it sounds like the majority of the board doesn't know anything about.
Yeah, again, I apologize if that's, to whatever extent I didn't do a good job of updating. I'm happy to come back and do more frequent updates.
So
No,
that's a takeaway of is the Port Authority so autonomous that they feel compelled that it's within their authority, without the backing of the Board of Commissioners, to go and do something this large? That's an open question, because if they are that, I mean, I'm gonna vote for different board members, because I think they are the action arm of the commissioners, and they feel compelled that they can go do something this large without even having input from the board of, the majority of the Board of Commissioners, is important to me. And number two is, it reminds me of the state capital dollar process, that before anything is recommended, I think there should be a work session before the commissioners of, these were the projects vetted by this, presented to the committee went through a process, and we came back, like the legislator wants us to offer up these 3 or 5 projects. Here they are. And if a commissioner has strong feelings on one or many of those, that should be in the public domain. If it's we, in my opinion, is the Board of County Commissioners.
Understood.
Very good.
All right, anything
Any
else?
questions?
Okay, thanks,
Okay,
Matt.
Thanks. And there's a couple renderings in the pack. I won't go through them. If you have interest in seeing them, there's part of the architectural renderings that have been completed to date. You can just see some different concepts of what the venue could look like, so. Close on that. Thanks.
Okay. Next, Mr. Kendall.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Paul Kendall with I'm the Director of Telecommunications, and I'm also the 911 Coordinator for the county. Recently, the State 911 Program Office asked us to commit to their EZINet, which is an Emergency Services Internet. Also, it's EZINet. It's designed to aggregate all of the 911 calls in the state, basically go through their servers in Columbus and Cleveland, and then they would distribute those calls to the county 911 centers. The governor's very close to this project and kind of driving the request for a commitment. We currently enjoy one of the most robust and diverse 911 systems in the state. The way we put it together, I think, exceeds some of the capabilities the state has at this time. And so we proposed last year to the 911 Program Review Committee, which Commissioner Young is the chairman of, that we stand pat and not commit to the state. ORC gives us 5 years before we have to make a commitment whether we want to switch or not. We have until July 30th of 2030. My recommendation was to wait until 2028 so that we can see, basically the state's never run a 911 network before, so we give them the opportunity to learn how to do that. We evaluate how their system's operating, and if the call quality is, is good and meets our standards. We've currently been connected to the Indiana EZINet since 2016. That's when we developed our system. That was the best deal for us to be a part of an EZINet because Ohio didn't have one ready. The state 911 office is currently building a connection between the Indiana EZINet and the Ohio EZINet, so we would be able to leverage that connection between Ohio and Indiana so that we wouldn't be isolated. We'd still be able to transfer calls and be able to work with the other members of the Ohio EZINet. So I'm asking us today for your support, basically to affirm the decision that the 911 Program Committee made, which is to delay commitment to the state until 2028, and essentially sign a letter to the state to let them know our position, that we want to wait and not join immediately to the 911 EZINet.
Is there any adverse implications of us not joining immediately?
No,
All right,
And that's your recommendation?
yes.
all right, I don't have a problem with that. Anybody else?
Fine with me.
All right,
Very
thank
good.
you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Kimball. Appreciate you being here again. Okay, Mr. Brown.
I was so used to calling on Mr. Haddix, but I don't have to now.
Sorry, Bruce. Didn't mean to leave you out.
Yes, you did.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Chris Broush. I'm with the Warren County Water and Sewer Department. Periodically, we receive requests from developers about properties, about water and sewer service to properties. And most of the time, they're properties within our designated service areas. Sometimes we get requests on properties that are outside of our service area. So last 2 weeks, we received a number of requests from potential property buyers looking at a property that's known as the Gale Freilich property. It's 10.6 acres. It's near Rivers Bend, and it's at the intersection of 48 and what is that, Dwyer's Road on that map? Is that what that is, or Winding Creek?
Winding River.
Winding River, thank you. And this property is actually located in the city of South Lebanon. We are not the designated management agency for sewer in that area. The city is actually the designated management agency. Last week I received a request from Brad Callahan. Brad Callahan is a potential property buyer. He's here. He was asking in regards to sewer service, and we referred him and back to the city of South Lebanon to get clarification as far as whether they were willing to serve the property or whether they're asking us to serve the property. So at this point, I mean, I can certainly turn it over to Brad, and he can talk about his request and what he would like to do with the property. We receive those requests periodically. So I wanted to bring it up to you, and we've invited Brad to come today, and I think Linda Burke with the city of South Lebanon is here, and Jerry Haddix is also here.
Chris, before you do, can you tell me what, this yellow area,
That's the city boundary.
okay, so why is it looped around like that?
I'm sorry.
So this is,
That's Hamilton Township.
this is a township,
Sunny Road
and this is all the city.
Yes,
So how long has that been a part of the city?
That, I don't know when the Freilich property came in. I don't know the annexation process. I don't know when all that came about. 2010.
What is the blue lines and the red lines?
The blue lines are the water lines, our water lines. The red lines are the county sewer lines. You'll see Schnick Road, there's a pump station at Schnick Road and Sunny Road, so we have a
All
pump
right,
station.
so there's a county sewer line that abuts the Froelich property.
Yes, it goes along Winding, what'd you call it, Winding Drive?
But,
I'm sorry.
okay,
I remember it as Dwyer Road, but it changes from Dwyer to Winding something there.
well,
We
so
have a
apparently
sewer-
it goes, it's Dwyer on the opposite side, on the east side of 48, and then it becomes Winding River, and then it becomes Dwyer again? When it gets
Yeah,
into
I noticed
in
Dwyer.
front of the Rivers
So-
Bend, Golf Club
There's a
Center
sewer
house.
line that runs along that roadway. and the
Okay, well, that's
property-
our sewer line, right?
That is our sewer
And we
line.
provide sewers to the Rivers Bend community.
We do, yes.
Okay, so,
absolutely.
so the only difference here is, and we've got a sewer that we put, along the property line of this Froelich property, which apparently used to be at some point part of Hamilton Township, but got annexed in 2010, something like that? Is that what you're telling us? Okay, and the Froelich property is still owned by Gail Froelich?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay, and she wants to sell it to a developer?
My understanding is it goes up the reason we brought this today is because we don't have a meeting next week, is that the property goes up to auction the following Tuesday.
Okay, wait a second. that's an unusual way of selling property. I mean, I know what happens. Is this an auction a private auction? Or is it a public auction?
I believe it's an online auction.
Okay,
said the
yeah, that
time-
happens sometimes, and they
They're
want
trying to
the
assess the value.
person, yeah, but the person but there's gotta be a developer that wants this property, who wants to put in
Yeah,
what?
Mr. Callahan is here, he's aware of the auction, he brought this to our attention.
Okay, and they probably wanna put homes here,
Yes, it would, I'm sure they wanna develop.
okay? But that's all gonna be zoning for this South Lebanon, and South Lebanon's interest is to see this have sewers. It's not in our sewer territory, right?
That's correct, it's,
But it does have a sewer along it. State likes us to have property that's sewered because that's better than septic. Okay. Do we have capacity for this, by the way? If this was all a bunch of housing likes across the street,
I believe it's probably zoned R1, I think.
well, if it becomes a residential area like the density that's right across the street there, you know, SUNY, Chateau Valley, you know.
The city of
whatever.
South Lebanon is here, they can talk about zoning.
But that's all in Hamilton Township there, but then there's a bunch of stuff that's in the city of South Lebanon. So, okay, let's hear what they have to say. And we got capacity to do anything in there?
We have capacity, it depends upon the density, but I believe we do have
And the
capacity.
definition of anything, and then I think that this was definitely, because this is, Bruce, the third or fourth time somebody's talked about buying this, if I remember correctly, that really the topo here, the wooded hillside basically in front of TPC.
It falls towards the river, so, even though we have a sewer along the roadway, the sewer is only 8 foot under grade, the grade drops off, so if somebody's gonna serve this property, there would have to be a lift station that they would have to build, and that lift station, if it was to be served by Warren County, if it was gonna be converted to us for service, that lift station would be a private lift station, we would not own and operate it.
Right, which has been something that we've been hesitant to do.
That's our
Do
standard.
we have a water line that goes through this property?
There's a water line that goes, we did obtain an easement from Mrs. Freilich, probably about 10 years ago to run a 24-inch water line along the property, close to 48. So there's a 24-inch diameter transmission main that runs through there. And then we have water along, I believe, the Dwyer Road or Winding Creek or whatever.
Yeah, but when I see that lighter blue line that goes through her property, is that an existing water line?
I think that's the transmission line.
Well, okay, I get, what do you mean a transmission?
Transmission,
Our wells are right down there.
it's pushes a large quantity of water. you know.
Okay, so there's a
we would
water
not-
line that's already on the
We
property.
would not tap that 24-inch line, they would have to tap along the road.
Okay, so that line is, we got an easement for that some time ago, and they knew at the time we gave them that or got an easement, that water line cannot be tapped into.
That's.
Okay,
not-
so they knew that, right?
Well, we're gonna make them aware of that, yes. I
Whoa,
mean,
they don't know that?
It's not a detail of the easement. so-
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not in the easement that they have a right to tap into it.
Yes, we dictate where they tap in, we dictate,
Dwyer.
and we would dictate that.
Well, I
they would-
mean, when somebody gets a line like that on their property, I could imagine that they might think, oh geez, I have a right to sell this property and they can tap
They
into
have
it.
access, they're blessed, they have access on two sides of the.
Because
of the
they don't
property.
care about that.
And so, that's not gonna be. an
They're gonna
issue.
care about the sewers though,
Yes,
because
that's,
that raises their price for the property.
exactly
And if
the
we
issue.
don't allow this, the auction is gonna have a very different number attached to it.
Well, yes, that,
Probably.
obviously sewer is gotta come into the calculation of the value of the
Okay.
property.
Commissioner's right, it will affect the value. What are you asking or telling the commissioners that they need to do today?
No,
If the
This is a
property owner-
request, there's gonna be, I'm sorry, Bruce, there's a request from the property owner here, or from the village of us, of the county to serve the property.
Well, I guess
That's
we're
what
about to
you're
hear
gonna-
from both.
That's what you're gonna hear
But
about.
what would they need to do? Does South Lebanon need to release it to the county? What would the county need to do?
There would probably need to be some kind of intergovernmental agreement regarding service, or some kind of documentation. There would have to be a 208 water quality amendments, because this falls under Ohio, under Clean Water Act, section 208 of, I think, the federal code it is. There's established sewer service boundaries. So if we were to serve that property, that sewer service boundary map would have to be modified for us.
But we're
to
not
serve.
bound by this date that's for an auction. I mean, we're not
No.
bound by that. So is there a reason why we're here in advance of the auction?
Based off of the requests that came from.
They asked, the property owners asked us, you know, are we a service provider? We indicated no, and if they wanted service, they would have to approach the county commission.
And Lebanon then is saying no,
Who
and it's bringing
supplies?
it back to us.
I'm sorry.
This is a request, so you have a potential property owner requesting whether, you know, this property would be.
I know exactly what's going on, and I applaud you that it's like this thing's about to go to auction, and he's trying to check the temperature, is he gonna have sewers or not?
Right.
And if there's gonna be sewers, I'll pay more than everybody else at the auction, because
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
think it's gonna have sewer.
Right,
So
make-
I'd do the same thing, but,
Yes, so that's why.
but not everybody else has showed up here, so.
Okay, but wait a second. Yeah, I agree with that. Who's supplying sewers to Bridgewater, and Riverview, and Stone Ridge, and Lakeview? Who's got, that's all in the city of South Lebanon. Are they supplying the sewers for those places?
For those your sewer service? Yes.
All right, because we don't show your sewer lines on here, because all he's doing is showing the county water lines and the county sewer lines. But I wanna know where your sewer lines are too. Okay, thanks,
There you go.
thanks, Chris.
Okay, would you like to hear from
Yeah,
the?
I'd like to hear from the person who's generating this in the city of South Lebanon,
Yeah,
it's all
yeah,
here.
every time the-
Brad,
Anybody
you
that
wanna
wants to
come up
talk to
here
it, come up and talk to us.
State your name and.
Contact before he knocks.
I would think we wanna hear from the city before the developer.
Doesn't matter to me, but that's fine.
We always do.
And you got a good relationship with this guy, right?
It's been 20 years here.
Yeah, really? Okay, state your
Jerry
name and
Haddix,
your
I'm the
address.
city administrator for the city of South Lebanon.
All right.
So just, we received a request, actually, go back, it was a couple years ago, we had a request to rezone this property to B2. And the neighborhood came out and that request was denied. So to go back, our future land use plan shows this as a mixed-use development property. So we've had that in 2023 that failed. A few months ago, we had a request from Ryan Homes to come in to rezone this as a R3, which is single multifamily. They wanted to do 60 single-family attached units. And their plan was to connect to our sewer, crossing 48, and then tapping in at the intersection of Lebanon Road and Dwyer on that side. Through the preliminary process, through the planning commission, public hearings, there was a lot of opposition, and they withdrew their application. So the seller, Gail Freilich, has been trying to sell this property for at least 10 years that I know of, probably longer. Had multiple realtors trying to sell us every which way. She's getting up in years and wants to get rid of it. So I think that's what I found out, that they're doing an online auction.
So what you're saying is you're able to serve it, but the.
Economics don't work out, yeah.
I'm sorry?
It would be too costly for us having a greater number of units. So I think Mr.
It's not a
Callahan-
capacity issue, where are your sewer lines?
It's a cost issue. They'd have
Yeah.
to bore under State Route 48. And it's a
And a-
cost
and a
issue.
Downhill, it's easier for them to do it,
Yeah,
there's no
but-
lift station.
But what I heard him say, which is why I'm asking this question, is that you were objecting to what the development was because it was inconsistent with your plan.
Well, they withdrew the application after the opposition from, the planning commission denied recommended denial.
The people across the street who have nice expensive houses didn't like the original plan of an
Yeah.
attached development with much higher density with Ryan Homes. They didn't like that plan. So
it's
they objected, and you political people over in South Lebanon are, you're hearing that objection, and you went along with the objectors.
Planning commission did, it never made it to the
Okay,
council.
gotcha.
Never made it to the council. they withdrew.
That makes sense.
So that's
So
currently,
now they've got another person who's interested, which we're about to hear from. Obviously, Mrs. Freilich, is that how you pronounce it, Freilich?
Freilich, yeah.
Okay. Does she live on this property?
No, she
Or
lives
she
out
lives
of
in
state.
California or something.
Okay.
Colorado.
So your sewer lines, you could supply, but it's really expensive to do so.
And the only way you could justify is if there was super high density there, right?
For the developer to do that, yes. So, it's
You
currently.
would
zoned
require
R1.
the developer to pay for the sewer connection of under
Yes.
48.
Yeah.
And the developer would probably think, oh, well, that's cost prohibitive, or that will affect what he would
What he can
pay
do.
for the property.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, because he's
Yeah.
gotta look at his development costs and see what he can make money or not.
Right.
That all makes sense. You guys are willing to supply the sewers, right?
Sure, yeah, we could do that.
And do you
Just
know
a
what
matter-
he now, so the density of the housing that they wanna put in now is something that you would agree with?
So, yeah, it's currently zoned R1, so according to our zoning code, you can have up to has to be a minimum half-acre lots, which,
What would be, how many lots would that be in this?
so that would be 20, but Mr. Callahan's requesting 5 to 7 lots.
5 to 7?
Now maybe we can talk to Mr. Callahan.
Okay, well, that sounds
So that's kind of the
interesting.
background.
So he's only wanting to put in 5 single residence homes.
Right,
Okay, Mr. Callahan?
so, and I think whatever we do would have to be, whoever is the low bidder or will win.
See, and honestly, that's the problem, is we can't make a deal with him before an auction. Because as of right now, there is no sewers, and the
Yeah.
second we say, yes, and honestly, yeah, Bruce, I don't know that we wanna hear from him, because I don't wanna deal with a single individual. Because if the auction comes along and we work out any type of a deal, oh, well, this guy gets sewers, but you don't have sewers.
Well, the deal's with the
Because we
city.
can't necessarily say, we're gonna limit our sewer, or could we say, we limit our sewer capacity to 7 residential units? Correct. Could
Well,
we
the
do
deal
that
would be
ahead
with
of
the
time?
city, it wouldn't be with
No.
the individual developer. I mean, we would have, I think, put limits,
Well, can we
10
issue,
10
Bruce,
units or something like that.
these kind of advisory things going on here? Can we do this kind of like, well, yeah, I think we might do that, but we aren't bound by it?
You shouldn't, because the guy who's a successful bidder other than Mr. Callahan, he may wanna do more than.
And then he's gonna come in with something completely different and say, well,
Correct.
you guys said you would do X, or you at
Right.
least, because really, you're asking us, will we make this our territory, and will we supply sewers? But we're not gonna do that, but, or Chris, we'd have to get Chris's advice, but it depends on the density.
Yeah, but again, this is where, the more I talk, because I'm the one that, I'm trying to be cognizant of this situation. We can't promise anything. From our standpoint, either it has sewers or it doesn't have sewers, as of right now, correct? As of right now, it does not have sewers from us, period, end of story.
No, you're not, it's not in your service area.
It's not in our service area.
Right.
So as of right now, it doesn't have sewers. And I've been hesitant, because in the past, there have been plenty of opportunities over the last, it's been at least 10 years, where they have talked about putting high-density stuff there. Everybody in TPC will hate that, they will be against it, you will have 200 people, boom, boom, and boom, and then, and it's, the topography also was very limited for something like high-density housing through there. It's on the side of a hillside, period.
I think it's the reason the planning commission recommended denial.
Correct, there was legitimate reasons why. So I think, from our perspective today, that, I don't want to speak for the other commissioners, I've been very hesitant of high-density housing in a lot of areas, including city of South Lebanon, where I've gone at it with you guys multiple, including, if I remember, see, this is why I want, maybe I've been here too long, because Tiffany or Tina was the one, we're in the middle of the wars with, the high-density apartments, like across the street or something, where it's like, oh, we're gonna put this in, and then all of a sudden, we said, yeah, there was water lines, and the South Lebanon came in and put apartments or something. It was literally right You know what I'm talking about, Bruce?
Bumped them around, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it was, they basically said one thing and then completely did another after we said yes. So I've
That was before.
maybe got too much institutional knowledge when it comes to this stuff. But I think from a fairness factor, for a pending free market transaction, the only thing we can state is what we're stating today, because I don't want to work out a deal with anybody
That's right.
before a thing. All I can say today is it doesn't have sewers.
Which is why I said there's nothing for us to deliberate on,
Not
there's
from
nothing.
us.
Well, I mean, what y'all can know is how historically we have dealt with our sewers outside of our normal service territory. And you can go and look back where the commissioners have taken a variety of positions on this. And so I personally don't like to use sewers as a zoning technique, but and I've been willing to go outside of our territory if it doesn't adversely affect us with having to provide sewers to other people. And obviously, we generally favor lower density or higher density housing, particularly when the housing that is in the area is lower density housing. And so I guess that's about all I can tell you about it. And somebody who's gonna buy this property, because the only reason why it's going to auction is because Mrs. Freilich can't sell it in a private, transaction where you got a real estate agent that's been trying to sell it. And a lot of that depends upon the zoning and the density and what it can be developed for, because that affects the price. And whether it's got sewers or not affects the price. The fact that sewers are in the area, and there is some level of capacity that probably is possible, so any developer, anybody that's gonna bid on this thing, can go to Chris Sprout and can say, I see we got sewers there. He says, yeah, we do. And can we get sewers? No, you can't, not without the commissioner's approval. And does that density matter? It could. What's your capacity, Chris? He can tell you that. So, we got capacity. That's gonna make a difference, but Chris is gonna be equivocal about that depending upon what you're doing.
But honestly, today, you guys supply sewers, we don't. And I'm sorry, I appreciate you coming and all that. I almost think it would hurt you to say anything right now. So we're not supplying sewers right now, period, end of story.
Right. I mean, we could, I guess after the auction, maybe work.
You wanna have a work session after the auction and talk about this property? And this is on YouTube, everybody can hear it.
Sure.
Feel free.
Yeah, I mean, there's give and take. We could probably, Chris has some ideas that maybe would work for beneficial for everybody. So I think maybe after.
Well, Chris can tell you what our sewer system can accommodate, what our future plans are, all of that kind of stuff. He can give you that.
Yep.
And then you can make a judgment based upon looking at prior sewer discussions. There've been a lot of sewer discussions in this commission. And there's been some disagreements between commissioners on that topic. So you can go back and take a look at that and just put you can't prophesy what's gonna happen.
Very good.
So this was already on our water service agreement from back in 21. So this property, you would provide service, water,
Yeah, back was, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, we entered, the county commissioners, the board entered into a water agreement with South Lebanon for wholesale water. And this was one of the wholesale water areas. So, if this property was to be developed, there would be an opportunity for the Warren County Water and Sewer Department to provide water service, but not sewer service. So,
Well, what is isn't the stuff across the street have some commercial retail development on the other side, on the east side of 48?
on the east side of 48, that's in the city, is that what you're asking?
Yep,
So,
yes.
I don't know what the zoning on that property is, but, so I just wanted to clarify, on the water side, the county potentially could provide water through the agreement we have with South Lebanon. I think Jerry mentioned we have some ideas. If this was to move forward and come back before the board, we would probably be proposing something for you then, so.
All right, and would there be, in this property, if you did some mixed use or some retail or some commercial usage, would you have access to it directly from 48? That's what you would do, right?
For what, for water?
I'm not talking to the southwest.
All right, I gotta go, I'm sorry. Good seeing you.
All right, there's a single access point, that's already provided on Whiting River Boulevard, so.
On what boulevard?
Whiting River, the drive that goes into the golf course, there's a single access off to
Okay,
the
all
south.
right.
Well, I'm sorry that we can't do any more for you today. It's always fun to
Appreciate
see
your time,
you.
though.
Mayor Burke, nice to see you. All right,
Thanks for being here.
I'll be back.
Anything else?
thank you. Okay, do we have anything else? All right, anybody in the public want to speak to us? No? Adam, you don't want to speak to us, do you?
No, sir, I was here to give Paul Kendall legal support if he needed it.
Okay,
It was my recommendation to get a letter from you, so I'm just here to watch that, and I stuck around to just out of interest for this. So I don't have anything for any of you, unless you have any questions for me,
Nope.
I'm A-okay.
all right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Yes, thank you so much.